folks, welcome to G for G. It is Napalm Dawn, and today we're going to take a look at a video in Marvel Snap as we close out a season. We're going to have some new content coming in a few hours, so I wanted to go ahead and share how things went this particular season for me. You know, where I'm closing out and where I've had success and where I haven't. So, as you can see down there towards the bottom, rank 26, I don't typically really push for rank. Mostly with me, it is about going through the season pass and getting into the plus 50 content there where I can do the season pass caches and whatnot. You may detect things sound a little bit different. This is because I'm doing a different setup. I'm not actually recording Snap on my PC as I am out of town, so I am doing it from my tablet instead. So this season I actually had one deck that was super consistent for me and had a really good win rate. At one point it was up at around 80% win rate or so, 80 or 82, and it has currently dropped into the 70s. I've used some other decks when I've had some missions and quests to do, but for the most part there is one particular deck that really seemed to work well for me. So before we get into that, let us take a quick look at the store here. There was a card that was available in the store in the weekly spotlight and everything, and that was Valentina. Valentina was a card that gives you a random 6 cost card, but then it takes away I think like 3 power from it. In looking at the crop of 6 cost cards that are available, a good chunk of 6 cost cards can actually stomach the -3 the -3 power to it, and it's actually really not that bad. You have some like Magneto and Hulk that still have pretty good value even if they're losing 3. Agatha Harkness could be bad news if you're not exactly prepared for it. However, you will have gotten 1 or 2 turns into the game at that point if Valentina was in your hand and you actually played her on 2 and everything. So if you're a little bit prepared for Agatha, then it's not really so bad. But if you're ill prepared for Agatha, she could definitely screw things up. So using my collection, let us actually take a look at what we would see for 6 cost cards. Arnim Zola would not be that great unless you had something already pretty powerful in your deck that Arnim Zola could destroy and spread to other lanes. Blob is not too bad, but you sort of need to have the right kind of deck for him. Obviously, Null wouldn't be super helpful over there unless somebody had been destroying cards. Leader is not necessarily bad. Doom is relatively good, but I'm not too sure if the Doom bots suffer the -3. My assumption would be no. So Doom would come in at a 6-2, but then the Doom bots would still come in at full power. Galactus... Yeah, Galactus would be bad if you brought him in and he came in at a 6-2 and he could not actually do his normal process there. If his proc did not work, then you're stuck with a 6-2, which is, relatively underpowered. Apocalypse would come in at a 6-3, not really that great. Hela, again, you need to have a deck working for Hela to be particularly useful. You will need to have had some discarded cards in there. When you get up to Onslaught, though, Onslaught is not too bad. He would come in at a 6-4. That is relatively decent. Spectrum could be okay. Odin could be okay. Ultron would be relatively good. That would be 6-5. And you would get the Ultron bots there. Heimdall could be good if you knew the move was going to work okay. A 6-6 there. Red Hulk could potentially be phenomenal to pull. Living Tribunal, maybe. Helicarrier, pretty good. And at this point, mostly every card would be relatively solid to pull. Orca could be a little dangerous if that you're not able to play him, to his strength, where you can get the +5. But Orca actually would be a phenomenal pull if you could do it. Magneto's got some solid value. I mean, that's a 6-9 right there. And once you get above Magneto, you could see my Agatha Harkness collection. I have not used an Agatha deck in a few seasons, but I did for a long time. Giganto would be good. Infinite would be good. Destroyer would not necessarily be that good unless you had a way of shutting him off. But, pulling in a 6-13 and walking around his proc would be okay. And then, of course, you could not pull Death because Death is not a 6. So, taking off that filter, if we search for Val, you'll be able to see exactly what she does. There she is, Valentina. Hello. Add a random 6-cost card to your hand. Give it -2 cost, -3 power. So, yeah, my apologies. I was calling them 6s. They would come in at 4. So, having a 4-9 Magneto, hey, I gotta tell you, that is pretty solid over there. So if you had, other 6-cost cards that had interactions with some of the other 6-cost cards that you might get, like if you pull Blob and you had some other 6ers in there, or high value cards, Blob could do well. A 4-3 Apocalypse is not bad. Really, the danger cards would be Arnim Zola. If Val is able to bring these people with 0 into the negatives, Arnim Zola wouldn't really be that good. Doom, Doom coming in at 4-2, getting full power Doom bots is not particularly bad. If you're running an ongoing deck, pulling Onslaught is good. So, I mean, it's extremely random. And on Facebook, I have seen some people talk about their results. And I know at least one person did say that they had pulled an Agatha and were not exactly too thrilled about it. And it messed them up. In terms of my season pass, I've made it here to 59. Probably between now and when the season actually ends in about 10 hours. I do not think I'll be pushing too much further. I do have some missions I could complete in the meantime. Winning with a snap would be doable. Maybe the 500 power. Also potentially the Zemo one, but with 8. That is definitely a lot of Zemo play. However, the deck that I wanted to talk about is... so one that I've used here a little bit towards the end of the season was this ongoing one that I had seen posted on a Facebook group. This particular deck is supposed to make use of Man-Thing, and Man-Thing takes all cards at a location up to a certain energy amount and drops their power down. I don't have Man-Thing, so what I'm running here is Ant-Man, Nebula, Mojo, Armor, Lizard, Cosmo, Punisher, Jean Grey, Luke Cage, Kazar, Omega Red, and Spectrum. I do believe Kazar is my Man-Thing replacement. This deck has done relatively well. It was about 50-50 for me tonight as I was trying to clear one or two more notches there for the ongoing quest or the ongoing task for the season. It's been a relatively solid deck. Jean Grey trying to manipulate people to a certain section is fun. You want to make sure you try to mix Jean Grey not with Lizard, but Jean certainly works well with Punisher, and of course, really the big thing there is Spectrum bumping up all your ongoing cards. So this deck over here has done relatively well for me towards the very tippy end of the season. However, the big deck for me this season, the one that was pulling in about an 80% win rate for quite some time, and is now 72, 75, is this one that's called Auto Red Hulk. Now, this is not actually what the system is doing for an Auto Red Hulk. It has been modified, but at least I can say this is not a Reddit deck or a content creator deck or a YouTube deck or anything. This one actually has come from hitting Auto Red Hulk and then manipulating it. So basically the first row has a lot of control of the enemy side with Spider-Ham and Iceman. Not Lizard though, because when you start going Spider-Ham, Iceman, Lizard, then you are getting into real douche territory over there, especially if you start adding any of the goblins. So this is only minor douching. Psylocke comes in there for a boost in energy, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. White Widow is a card that came along during the midway point of the season over here towards the end. This has -4 power, but disable the ability if your side of this location is full. So basically it dumps a 0/4 to the enemy side unless they completely jack it up. Mordo says, hey, your opponent draws a card, set its cost to 6, so that is really good if people are running a lot of low cards and you take one of them and you jack it up to a 6, making it inaccessible to them. Electro also adds plus energy. Again, more on that in a moment. Black Widow is a bit of control. Zemo is also control. Recruit the lowest cost card from your opponent's deck to your side. Omega Red is some control on my side. Sandman, this is where I'm curious if I still want to use Sandman or not. His essence has changed. It used to be players can only play one card, period, and you get +1 energy. So a little bit Electro, a little bit control. Now his players can only play one card on the next turn. So if he's out early and you drop him on 4, then on the 5th round, people can only play one card. 5/7, that is a decent amount of power. I just don't know if Sandman really fits the theme anymore, but he kind of does. And here with the last 2 cards, this is where we're really talking about the deck. The idea is either Electro or Psylocke dropped specifically at a targeted time, getting Red Hulk on the field, hopefully on turn 5. Hopefully he's getting boosted from the enemy team having to have rounds of not fully utilizing their energy, and then Arnim Zola-ing Red Hulk to 2 locations instead of 1. And, maybe swerving it up a little bit. If Red Hulk is out on the field, turn 5, people are like, oh, I gotta beat that Red Hulk in that lane, and then they try to beat Red Hulk, and then Arnim Zola drops in that lane and shifts Red Hulk out to different lanes instead of the original. That's generally the plan, and it has worked surprisingly well. As a backup, Arnim Zola-ing a Sandman and taking 1 5/7 and making 2 5/7s out of it is not bad. I've always wondered if I would run into the case where what I was left with in turn 6 was Arnim Zola-ing an Omega Red. Omega Red is if you're winning here, plus 3 power to other locations. I think it would be kind of fun to Arnim Zola Omega Red from a location, put him into other winning locations, and then getting +3/+3 and getting a win that way. That hasn't happened yet, but I think it would be funny. Mostly the plan of, either Red Hulk winning a lane and winning the game out of that lane, or doing the Zola destroy duplicate situation. Yeah, this deck has done surprisingly well, and when I say that the percentages are good, it is actually something that I can back up from my snap tracking. Now, for some reason, at least halfway through the season to the end, the Android tracker, even though the service is running and I'm like hitting manual upload when I'm done, I was not actually getting proper tracking from Android, only the Steam client on my PC and everything. So there are some matches, actually a like semi-reasonable amount that didn't get recorded. But yeah, this deck has done extremely well, even after the quote-unquote nerf to Red Hulk over there. It didn't wind up being too bad. Agent Weenie was not that successful for me. It was for some of the low-cost tasks that came up. Whenever I do a Weenie deck, it's usually because I have, one cost task to do. In theory, it's not too bad. It's my typical Weenie deck with Bast, bumping up some powers over here. There's not too many people that you would not want to Bast in this deck. It's really Goblin, Sierra, Jean Grey, and Black Swan that you don't want to Bast over there. But it's called Agent Weenie because US Agent, the theme of the deck is trying to win on low-cost cards and have the opponent not be able to do high-cost cards. And Goose comes in for that. US Agent comes in for that. The Jean Grey is there to try to bring people over to US Agent, because you'll see US Agent says 4, 5, and 6 cost cards here have -4 power. The idea is to put US Agent in a lane and then throw Jean Grey over there and try to draw the high-powered cards from the enemy team over to US Agent. And then Goose, again, kind of really corralling people towards US Agent. Black Swan says until the end of your turn, your 1-cost cards cost 0. So if things are, this is a cheap deck. Things don't get above 3. Sierra protects them from killmongering on the enemy side. Scorpion's there is a douche. Iceman is there is a douche. Spider-Ham is there is a douche. And there's Green Goblin. So this is a very douchey deck by quite a bit. Yondu destroys the lowest cost card, again, sort of thinning out the deck and pushing people into the Jean Grey lane, or being able to not do anything because of Goose being out there too. Mordo could have a place in this deck, because US Agent goes on cost, not power. So even if a 1 or 2 cost card was really, really effective, but you've jacked the power up there, Mordo US Agent is a pretty good combo, because if they absolutely have to play that card and it's a 6 cost, US Agent is going to pop them. Green Goblin is a little risky with Bast, because I don't have 0 in this one. It gets a little sketchy. I did have a deck that had 0 and Bast and Green Goblin in it. If Bast popped my Green Goblin and made him a 3/3, you just use 0 in front of him, and then you get to keep Green Goblin, who is no longer a detriment, but rather positive. Agent Weenie did not do particularly well for me. Rampy discard, Trolley Nuts, or Trolley Nuts I didn't really use. But at the very beginning of the season, Brain Dead She-Not was coming in for me for some victories. But once Red Hulk was around, this is the deck that I wrote out most of the season with. And I'm really surprised, but it did phenomenally well. Now, would that be able to compete up in the infinite level, which clearly I'm not? Can't say. But it was a lot of fun, and in all honesty, when you're winning the majority of the time, I think the game is more fun, and it sucks you in and keeps you playing a little bit more, which is why my season pass was so good this time. And it's been a couple seasons since I really got high into the season pass there. The last season rank was not good, season pass was not good, but this one, yeah, had a lot of fun, and definitely plan to continue using that Auto Red Hulk deck there. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope your season worked out really, really well for you, and let's strap in for the new season that is going to be dropping here on Tuesday. Thanks a lot, everybody, and I will catch you later.